There we go, getting my microphone set up there. Sorry, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Unity of Kalamazoo. We're glad you're here. Yeah, got a lively bunch out there. I'm watching you. And no, I'm teasing. All right, we've got a great service in store this morning. Brett Kuhn is with us as our guest speaker. A familiar face at this point. Welcome back. And a special treat for you, my dear friend Hal Hobson is going to present special music today. He's been here once before. And I wasn't even here to see him play. He played piano, did a great job, I hear from everyone. But today he's going to sing, and you're in for a real treat. So looking forward to that. Brian's going to song lead for us. We've got Dave back on drums, and John on bass, and myself, Brent, on keys. So we're glad you're here. If you're here with us in person or streaming online, whichever it is, we're glad you're here. Thanks. And let's stand up and get started. We're going to start with God, You Are. Here we go.
God, you are every mountain. God, you are every ocean. God, you are every sun, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every morning. God, you are every midnight. God, you are every moment, every second of my life. And everything everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. God, you are every sunrise. God, you are every moon glow. God, you are every star shine, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every springtime. God, you are every snowfall. God, you are every season, every second of my life. And everything I do, everything I see, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. 'Cause you are the very breath I breathe, and your perfect love created me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. I can feel it in my beating heart, God in everything. It's in every breath of life I take, God in everything. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. It's in every stranger's face I see God in everything. Brothers, sisters, family are we, God in everything. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything.
Everywhere I look, I see God in all of your faces. My name is Beth Odekirk, and I'm working platform today, and I am so grateful to be here. I am also very grateful and thankful for everyone that makes this service flow right along and meet our every need. Our sound folks, streaming, hospitality, ushers, script and bookstore, PowerPoint. Thank you, Tim. Our youth leaders, and of course, our wonderful music team with our treat from hell today is going to be amazing. Thank you. If this is your first time joining us, we are glad that you are here. There's a card, a yellow card, I think, in the pew pocket for you to fill out and hand to an usher when you leave. They have a small gift for you. Thank you for bringing your spirit to us today. Announcements for today are that we have our favorite guest speakers, Reverend Brett Kuhn, with us today. Yeah. And his talk, Flowing with Life, I'm sure will resonate with us today. Thank you for being here. Next Sunday, our very own Reverend Judy will be talking about the yes in yesterday. The choir will also be singing. Yep. And then following that, we've got our board installation on January the 28th and our very important town hall meeting after service. These have been very well attended of late, so let's make sure our presence is there so that we can, as a church community, know all the things going on as well as give our input as it's asked for. And then, as an aside, Reverend Brett is leading a meditation retreat in Bali in February. The info was in our e-zine, but since he is here with us today, check in with him after service for more information. Now, last call for input on our next book study here at church. Please take a minute and go on our website or get into the e-zine or look right out on the piece wall there for a paper copy to fill out and give input on the type of book study you'd like to participate in the next calendar year as we are planning. We want to meet your needs and wants for spiritual development and create high engagement as we set up our next book study. So give your voice to that, and please don't tell anyone. I just did this myself this morning. So we were looking for 5 more, and now we need this many more before we feel like we have really good representation and input. Very easy to do. So, okay. So let's get ourselves settled into service by doing our mission statement together. As an all-inclusive community, we awaken to spirit, grow into our souls, and build a better world. Our vision: we celebrate a world of ever-awakening consciousness, abundance, peace, and love for all. Core values at Unity of Kalamazoo are love, authenticity, stewardship, oneness, and playfulness. And our land and labor acknowledgement. Our spiritual community acknowledges Black, Indigenous, and people of color whose lands and labor were forcibly taken. We pledge to promote understanding, equity, justice, and inclusivity. And as I'm seeing a couple of little ones approaching the sanctuary, it will be time to provide them with our blessing. As you go your way, know that you are loved, special, and important to us. Finally, not on a slide, we do have our Unity and Community meeting right after service. Come join us to generate ideas for fellowship, fun, and community service in the coming year. Please feel welcome to join. And now, our very own Brian Bay will get us ready for meditation.
Child of the living God, I've been given to you, my God, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender.
I'm sorry, I think I boo-booed there, didn't I? Do I need to do the word first? Okay. Forgive me. The word for the day is wholeness. Wholeness is my nature and the truth of my life. I see myself whole, complete, and as a living expression of God. My thoughts fill my consciousness in the divine idea of wholeness. My words affirm this wholeness. Through my actions, I bless the life energy in my body with the right balance of exercise, rest, and nutrition. I live from my wholeness even if I've experienced illness. Even if I experience illness. I may receive treatment, but I do not consider myself weak or diseased. I move through every health challenge with faith and grace, trusting the experience has come to pass. I remember wherever I am, whatever may be happening, divine life is always seeking to express through me, to restore my awareness of wholeness, which is and will always be my true spiritual state of being. And from Luke 11:34, your eye is the lamp of your body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if it is not healthy, your body is full of darkness. So if you haven't already, just closing your eyes and just taking a nice deep breath in and just letting go. I surrender. I surrender. Just surrendering everything to God. Is there something that's troubling you? Please give it over to God. Is there something that you're stressed about or you're worried about what might happen in the future? I surrender. Please give it over to God. There's literally not one single thing you need to hold on to. Please hear those words. Let them kind of simmer within yourself. There is literally nothing you need to hold on to. This idea that we've bought into of who we are, just let all of that go. Let go of your need to fix anything about yourself or others. Let go of your need to fix anything about yourself or others. God is on your side. Please hear that and feel that in your heart. There is nothing more that God wants than to help you to feel that you are the love, you are the peace, you are the joy, and you are the very essence of God that you have always been seeking. It's so important not just to hear that, but begin to open to that truth and fully realize that truth, meaning to manifest that truth in your life. But for right now, I'm inviting you to let go of and surrender so fully that only peace remains. Because the truth is, you can let go of everything. You can give up everything, but the one thing you can never let go of or get rid of is you. The pure beingness of who you are, the pure love that you are. Because you are one with God and you can't get rid of God. You can let go of everything, but you can't get rid of yourself and God. And so I hope you hear those words in a way that you feel safe to say, Father, I truly don't want to hold on to anything. This is my opportunity. I know right now, this is my opportunity to let go of all of my burdens, troubles, and worries and give them over to you, knowing that you will give me the exact experiences I need to come back home to who I am, which is already peace, joy, and love. And so if you would, just bring your awareness to your breath. Just notice the breath. It's so beautiful. When I get caught in the struggles of the world, just coming back to the awareness of the breath brings me back to awareness, back to being the observer of my life, the one that's sitting in the audience watching the movie of life, but not being pulled into the drama of it. That's you. Just even take a couple steps out of your body, sit in a chair and just notice, oh, look at what Joe is thinking. Look at what Debbie is thinking. Look at whatever your name you've been assigned, step out of that person for just a moment and just be a witness to that person's thinking, that person's choices, that person trying to make things right in the world when there's nothing to make right, actually. You're just the witness of that person trying, and trying. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I invite you to come back to conscious awareness where you can be in the world, but not of it. And that's what Jesus tells us. Be in the world, but not of it. So if you're ever feeling stressed or worried during the day, if you can just remember, come back, take a breath, and come back to being aware of that breath. And know that peace, just like this moment, peace is always possible and it's always available. Namaste.
Oh, this son of mine I love so well, and oh, the toll it takes. I would give to him a garden and...
I'm going to start over. I started in the wrong key, y'all.
Actually, E flat's...
We're just gonna wipe that clean. Yep.
It looks like E flat, but it's E.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, this son of mine I love so well, and oh, the toll it takes. I would give to him a garden and keep it clear of snakes. But the one thing he most treasures is to make his own mistakes. Oh, he goes charging up the cliffs of life, a reckless mountaineer. I could help him not to stumble. I could warn him what to fear. I could shout until I'm breathless, but he'd still refuse to hear. Oh, but you cannot close the acorn once the oak begins to grow. And you cannot close your heart to what it fears and needs to know. That the hardest part of love is the letting go. As a child I found a sparrow who had fallen from its nest, and I nursed it back to health till it was stronger than the rest. But when I tried to hold it, then it pecked and scratched my chest till I let it go. As I watched it fly away from me with
with its bright and selfish song. A part of me was cursing I had helped it grow so strong. And I feared it might go hungry, and I feared it might go wrong. Oh. But you cannot close the acorn once the oak begins to grow. And you cannot close your heart to what it fears it needs to know. That the hardest part of love is the letting go. And it's only in Eden grows a rose without a thorn. And your children start to leave you on the day that they are born. They will leave you there to cheer for them. They will leave you there to mourn ever so. Like an ark on uncharted seas, their lives will be tossed. And the deeper is your love for them, the crueler is the cost. And just when they start to find themselves is when you fear they're lost. Oh, but you cannot close the acorn once the oak begins to grow. And you cannot close your heart to what it fears it needs to know. That the hardest part of love and the rarest part of love and the truest part of love is letting go.
Am I on? Okay. Anybody else feel like they were watching a Disney movie or something? And I mean that in the best of ways. That was beautiful. We could feel your heart. It was really gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the music. Brian, thank you. It was all a lovely way to start the morning for sure. I drive over from the Metro Detroit area. I was coming over, got over around Lansing area. And it started to snow, and I go, oh, Kalamazoo, it's getting me again. Last year when I spoke during the winter time, it seemed like every time I came over, right, Karen, it's like there was some kind of bad storm, winter storm, and so I'm like, does this just happen all the time, or does it only happen when I come over? I haven't decided. So, but I got through Lansing about a half hour, and then I decided to just pull off in the rest area and meditate for about 15 minutes. And I woke up, the sun was shining, trees were filled with snow, and I'm like, thank you for welcoming me, Kalamazoo. So it's always good to be here. I always feel welcomed and loved here, and I like how you always set the stage, Brent and all of you, for just making it special. So yesterday I was at, by the way, if you didn't recall the title of talk, okay, Flowing with Life. So I was at Costco getting gas over my way in Madison Heights. And we had a fairly long line to get to the pumps. So I'm in line, and the aisles where people can come out, where they're parked at, they can come out, it gets blocked by the line of cars waiting for gas. So I saw that there was a couple cars there, so I was going to let one of them in and let her pass by. The line's long, so it's not up for me to allow them to cut because I got other people behind me as well. But I thought, okay, I'll let her pass through so she can get around the car line. Well, she comes in and she gets in the gas line, and I was like, but not only that happened, the guy behind her quick cuts around her on the left-hand side, and he comes around, and then he weasels his way in. And you can see that I have some energy around this, right? In case you haven't picked that up. I was so angry because how dare somebody try to take advantage of me, you know? And so, in any case, I was livid. I was so angry, And in that moment, I will confess, yes, I am a minister, but I wanted to beat the crap out of that guy. And, I'm fortunate enough to have done some work along the way to recognize this might not be the best option. So I get in line, and meanwhile, I'm waiting in line. And by the way, there's, there's maybe 10, 12 lines in there. And I pull in the one line. And was it happen chance, or did I make this happen? Because I saw that the guy was in the other line, and I really wasn't done with this yet. And I really, at the very minimum, wanted to give him a very dirty look, right? And so my wife calls me during this time, and I don't even remember what she was calling me about. And I said, I'm going to say the word pissed, so hopefully it's not offending. I said, I'm just so pissed right now, And she's like, why? And I go, and I'm telling her the story, and she's getting a good laugh out of the whole thing. I'm usually a fairly calm person, but God had a way of pushing my buttons. How is it now? How is it now, And so I'm noticing all this, and I'm glad she was entertained by all of it. And I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like I want to punch the guy in the nose right now, And I said, but I can see myself going in to Unity of Kalamazoo tomorrow and trying to explain why I have a black eye. So, needless to say, I did not make that choice. And I drove away, and I thought, I was kind of laughing and still in my anger at the same time as I began to step into being more of a witness, to the experience, and recognizing everything truly does happen for a reason. And sometimes we, of course, forget this when we're being pummeled by, spirit in some way. And of course, it's not like I was being pummeled, but it felt very real. It felt very agitating. All of it seemed real in that moment. And, my spiritual tools that I've worked so hard on seemed to not be there at the time. And that's perfect. It's perfect. I don't want to get up here and talk about flowing with life, flowing with God, without my humanness being here as well. And I have plenty of my moments, but what I do notice is I feel like it moves through very quickly. And one of the ways it moves through very quickly is just taking complete responsibility for my life, right? Knowing that God is orchestrating all of our lives. We can try to control it. We can try to make choices. We can, and I'm not saying you stop doing these things, but the more we let go of, our false beliefs, then we find that things just move through really quickly. And it's quite beautiful and powerful. But we're going to get tested along the way, right? We're going to get tested. So let's see, I think I spoke here, the last time I spoke here was maybe beginning of December. I don't remember when it was, but the middle of December, I end up, a lot of times I do my intermittent fasting quite regularly, where I'll just eat one meal for the day, and it's a nice way of clearing my body out. And if you've not done it before, it's very powerful and beautiful. Partly I eat well because I want my body to feel well, but also when I'm eating well, I just find it easier to connect with God. It's like taking care of the temple, and so. So I was doing intermittent fasting, and then later on in the evening, I thought, I'm feeling like I want a little something else. And I had, I had a boiled egg. And the boiled egg, let's see, the eggs had expired, and sometimes I'll eat expired food, and I boiled them just to try to keep it safe and that. And I asked my wife if she wants to have it, and she goes, no, I'm not doing that, Wise move, because the next morning, my body was emptying out in every way that it could. And I couldn't even drink water. My body just said, I need to clear out, And so I did that. Actually, I fasted for 2 days, clearing things out. But sometimes when you have something like that going on physically, it can affect other areas of your life. You know, I feel the cleaning out was very good, but what happened on the third day is I had some things popping up. Actually, I had several things kind of hitting me at once. And I can generally deal with these things pretty good overall as I begin to witness them and allow them to move through. But in this particular case, some of my spiritual tools, I won't go into it, they were taken away from me from a certain point of time, because it was like the more spiritual work I was doing, the more my heart was fluttering and I would go into AFib. And I feel like it was Spirit saying, you know what, quit making everything spiritual. It's all spiritual, and that's life. Life is spiritual in itself. So quit labeling this is spiritual, this is not. You're working on all this meditation. And like my buddy had said a long time ago to me, he said, spiritually, I give you an A+. Now it's time to live your life. And I feel like I wasn't doing a good job with that. So this was a good reminder for me and how I get caught up and always working on myself and doing, you know, my meditations and all this. It's all wonderful, and I'm not trying to take that. Some of you, you know, need to do more of it, and there's others, you know, if you're like me, you know, maybe you back off a little bit. But I had done so much of it, and I really feel God was just saying, just enjoy life. Can you just be for a little bit? So what happened is after eating the boiled egg, and you never have to worry about eggs spoiling, right? So any case, on the third night, and just everything coming up, and I was, like I said, my spiritual tools weren't available to me in that moment, and I end up not feeling well. I'm feeling my AFib really kicking in. And by about 1:30 in the morning, I said to my wife, I need to go to the hospital. Keep in mind, I literally hadn't seen a doctor in over 20 years. I've always done holistic. One time I did have, I got some stitches when I was feeling good, and I did a karate kick, and as I jumped up to do it, I hit my head on the beam in the basement. And so, any case, I did have that experience where I did need to go to the doctors and get stitches for that. But I needed to go to the doctor, and I wasn't feeling well at all. So I go there, and just really it was about a day and a half of being in there and just letting things settle down, being taken care of. We actually had room service where you could actually call anytime you wanted a meal. You could call in what you want. Usually they just bring a tray, right? That's how they used to do it. I don't know how it is around here, but I was at Beaumont Hospital in Royalo, and they allowed me to call. I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't a bad menu, you know? So I'm like kind of kicking back and relaxing and enjoying all of it. But, you know, flowing with life does not always mean what our mind thinks it means, right? It means, again, probably one of the biggest things is accepting responsibility for every single thing that happens in your life. I find that if I don't, then I'm living a disempowered life. I'm living a life that I really can't ever come back to a place of wholeness, because as long as we're making the problem outside of ourselves in some way, we can never heal that. Please hear that. As long as you're making someone or something else the problem, you can never, ever heal it. And we've all tried, right? We've had these people that just annoy us, and we're like trying to fix them because they're the problem. And yet, even if you were able to fix them, you can fix Nick or whoever it is, but there are another million Nicks in the world waiting to teach you the same lesson, right? God will give you what's needed for you to awaken to who you are. Always, 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 always. So why blame anyone or anything at all, right? I mean, really, when you consider what the choices are, you can blame someone. You can say all these things are wrong in the world, and that's okay. I'm not saying you can't do that, but I am saying you're not going to experience peace. You're not going to be flowing with God. because God is bringing everything in our world, in each of our universes, that we need to experience. But when you say that, you can't say that, typically a lot of times we're like, well, I should be accepting this. It doesn't mean that you can't have feelings around this, right? It doesn't mean that guy cutting in the gas line, that I can't get angry or frustrated, but it means eventually, and hopefully shorter rather than longer, eventually I take responsibility and say, okay, all right, I'm done stewing over this, most of it, and I'm done stewing over it, and now I'm ready to look within myself. Father, teach me. And I see that I still have this, how dare them try to take advantage of me, It's that ego part that wants to protect myself. I don't want to keep having that experience. And the truth is, it showed up in many times in my life. There was a time, I lived in Oscoda up north on Lake Huron for part of my life. My dad was in the Air Force. But there was a time where my sister was moving out from an apartment, and my dad and my brother were helping her to move. I was working at the gas station at the time. I was, I think, about 19 or so. And in any case, I got home from work, and my mom said, go to the hospital. Your dad and your brother are in the hospital. And I go, what? What's going on? And they said when they were moving stuff out of the house, the landlord had brought some thugs up, I think is her words, from Flint area, and they beat your brother and your dad up. I still feel a little emotional around that. I didn't realize I still had something there, but it angered me so much. How dare anybody do that to our family? And I went in emotionally with guns a-blazing when I got into the hospital. I'm like, who is this? We're going to kick their butts, and all this kind of thing. And the doctor's like, I just got them settled down, And my sister, I had so much anger with everything going on. I really wanted to hurt them so bad. I still carried a lot of violence, and as you can tell from my gas pump story, I still have some violence in there. Fortunately, I know how to manage that. But we're human. We have these experiences. But my sister, I saw one time when she threw away the key to the apartment. And when she left, I got the key out because I was not done with it. I was going to hurt them in some way. How dare they do that to my family? And I held on to that key for many, many years. Even doing my spiritual work, I was still holding on to it and realized that I needed to forgive them. I needed to forgive them for myself, if nothing else, right? And I saw a quote recently by Dr. Martin Luther King, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't recall exact words, but he said something like, I choose to love because hate is far too big of a burden to carry. And it's just such a powerful quote. And I hope you choose to love. And I hope you choose to throw away the key, that whatever it is you're holding on to with somebody else, to just choose to throw the key, no matter how you feel you've been wronged. You can't ever open up to who you are. You can't ever flow with life and with God if you're carrying around the key. It just can't happen. It won't happen. And if you're in that place of making that decision, it's okay. It's okay. Be compassionate with yourself. We're all here to find happiness ultimately, and we just are going about it in different ways. In some ways look absolutely nuts to us, but it's just their path. And the more you can have compassion for them, the more you can have compassion for yourself as well. And it's necessary. So I want to provide you a few tools to help you hopefully flow with God better, flow with life better. I use it interchangeably. Life, God. God is life. Life is God. It's life is God expressing itself and giving each of us the experience we need so that we can come back home to who we are. So the first thing I want to say is there's nothing to figure out. What? There's nothing to figure out? My mind wants to figure out everything. You know, I'm sure I gave this statistic before that we have about 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts every single day, which is, if you calculate it out, it's like literally every second you have something you're thinking about. In part, that is because we're trying so hard to figure out, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to make my relationship better? How am I going to get that right job? How am I going to awaken to who I am? Whatever it is, how am I going to become closer to God? It doesn't matter whether your mind describes it as good or bad figuring out. It's still figuring it out. It still moves you into your head where you're trying to figure it out. And it's been my experience that trying is of the head and not of the heart. You know, you hear people say, you know, can you be a little bit more patient? But if the person's not patient, and then all of a sudden they say, well, I'm supposed to be more patient. Now they're trying to be patient. So not only are they not being patient, but now they're in their head, probably judging themselves that they're not patient enough. Have compassion. Do the best. And if you're like really wanting to be patient, then just, if you can, take responsibility, look within yourself and say, what is lacking within me to love this person and accept them exactly the way they are? But I can tell you literally, there is not one thing you need to figure out. I know that's, for some of you, that might be very hard to believe, particularly for us guys. You know, we're guys have been raised up in our heads and sometimes not in our hearts. Women are more intuitive about things generally. I don't want to stereotype, you know, too much. But any case, I'm just saying that let go of this need to figure things out. We've all had the experience where we were looking around the house for our keys and they only show up when we let go of our trying to figure out where they're at, right? That is life. And the more you can let go of your need to figure things out, your mind begins to rely more on God. It begins to let go of your need to figure it out, and it begins to have a deeper trust and faith, where there's more of a beingness that's flowing with you. You know, I find, like, as far as when I'm letting go of my need to figure something out, and I truly surrender it, you know, I surrender, that song, I surrender. I just loved it. And really just feeling ourselves letting go, it's like, all right, God, I literally don't want to try to figure things out anymore. I just want to give my life over so fully to you that I know that when the answer is needed, it will be provided. When the answer is needed, it will be provided. A lot of times we get into trying to figure it out because we're wanting the answer right this moment, right? I got to have this answer now. And God's saying, it's not right in divine timing. I'll provide it when it's needed. And so that's one of the things that I would say to do. I mentioned about taking responsibility. I can't tell you how much taking 100% responsibility means in your life. I had, there's a Sadhguru, I don't know if any of you know him. He's got literally hundreds of millions of followers. He's well known in India. He's been a consultant to the United Nations for peace, speaking on peace. He's also a consultant to the Prime Minister of India. Anyhow, I took a couple retreats with him, and he really just hammered it home on taking responsibility. And I think most of us, maybe all of us in here, have heard responsibility means responsibility, your ability to respond. And so you can't respond to something in a healthy way unless you take ownership of it. He gave the example of, you know, if a little kid runs out into the street and the mom's not looking, I know everybody in here is going to go grab that child, because at some level you take responsibility to say, wait a minute, she's not looking, I need to handle this. But if you didn't care and you didn't take responsibility, it's a different scenario, right? Let me be clear though, taking responsibility doesn't mean all of a sudden you're like, oh, the weight of the world's on me. It doesn't mean that. It means that by taking responsibility, it gives you the option to say, I'm in on this game, but this one here I'm going to let somebody else take care of. You know, because we can't be everything to everyone, right? Well, when you're in that fully realized truth of who you are as God, maybe you can. But right now, as the person, maybe you just pick and choose your battles. Like, where can I show up? What calls to my heart to serve? Beth's up here serving, and I don't know why, Beth. I just want to say this. Whatever you were going through, you talked about going through some stuff. I saw some zest and spice in you that I haven't seen before, and it was beautiful, and I'm so happy for you. So a little side note there. Got to take those moments when you can, right? So really, I can't tell you how impactful taking 100% responsibility is. But again, pick and choose. It doesn't mean you have to take action on everything. It just means you have the option to take action, okay? Flowing with life, flowing with God, for sure it's having trust and faith. It's having trust and faith that every single thing is unfolding as it needs to. Very powerful. I was saying in the meditation, give it over to God, I surrender. Give it over to God, I surrender. Anytime you have something going on that you're not liking, the mind, of course, goes there to say, okay, I need to figure it out. And you're not the mind, so it's not even you saying that. It's just the mind saying, I need to figure this out. Every time the mind says that, then I offer you an escape route here. And that escape route is just saying, okay, I caught you, Mr. Mind, Mrs. Mind. I'm not buying into this. I'm not going to try figuring this out. I'm just going to give this over to God right now. Very, very powerful. When you're not sure what to do with anything, give it over to God. Just keep giving it over to God. Make that your practice. Give it over to God, and you'll see that all of a sudden things start working out more and more. I feel like my life is very flowing in many ways, and when I am tested, it's so much easier to handle it than I used to. And somebody like that guy at the gas pump, it's possible I would have stewed over that for weeks or, in some ways, years, because sometimes when we hold on to those things and we're not willing to let go of it or forgive, we carry that burden for lifetimes sometimes. I was working on my aunt, doing energy healing work on her, and she had been with this gentleman, Eddie, for a long time. And I said, and she stopped seeing him, and I asked her what's going on, and she told me, and I saw how her mind was very invested in making sure that she never forgave him, right? And so when I first started working on her, she's like, oh no, I'll never forgive him. I'm like, okay. And so any case, so then from there, we started working on her forgiving herself. And eventually we got to the point where one day I said to her, she's no longer around, so I'm going to feel free to use her name, my Aunt Audrey. And I said to her, Aunt Audrey, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to forgive Eddie in 20 years? And she said, yeah, I think I can do that. Boom. That door had been opened. That cracked the door open for possibilities right there. And I knew that if she opened that door to 20 years, as she began to deal with that little bit, something else was going to open up. And she said she wanted to, enjoy her life, but she wanted God to be a part of it. So I was doing so much heart work on her, and I didn't know, and I said some things, intuitively I said some things to her about her opening her heart, and her son, my cousin, calls me about 2 weeks later and said, or maybe a week, I think it was a week later actually, he said, I want you to know that Mom's in the hospital and she's got to have heart surgery. And I go, what? I didn't understand what happened. I just worked on her, energetically. And I remember saying, I love how your heart is opening. And so she went in there for the surgery, and she said that she was so scared, and then all of a sudden she fell into a deep peace, and she could feel God there. And it was really moving. And I had in my mind of what it looked like for her heart to be opening, and it didn't look like heart surgery to me. But they did the angioplasty and opened up one of them that was almost completely closed. She got it open to like 95%. It really was just such a beautiful happening from the whole thing. We fight life so many times, right? Because we're believing what our mind is saying. I've said a lot of the things over and over in here, but please hear this one thing if you don't hear anything else. Stop believing your thoughts. Stop believing your mind. Just stop listening to it even. I've been practicing just silence, noticing my mind is busy. I'm like, I just choose silence. And I just keep coming back to this silence. And I keep practicing that silence because silence is the natural truth of who we are. It's the stillness and the silence. Be still and know that I am God. If you really want to get to know God, and by the way, I've heard sages say, if you want to get to know God, find out the truth of who you are. If you want to get to know who you are, find God. So you can go to God, find God, discover God, or you can go to yourself. Either way, they're going to merge somewhere down the line. So I want to kind of, I'm going to finish up. It feels time to finish up. But I want to say this whole thing about believing your mind. The mind can be useful. I want to be clear on that. So I don't want to make the mind the bad guy, but as long as we're making the mind the master and us the slave, it's not going to work. And so however you want to do it, practicing meditation, meditation is such a beautiful way to continue to observe the thoughts, witness them, and every time they present themselves, let them pass on by. Why? Because you know you're not your thoughts. You don't have to listen to the thoughts. You don't have to let them pull you into the drama of life. That's not what they're there for. We're separate from the truth of who we are because we've believed all this nonsense that our mind has convinced us is true. That we're not enough. They're not enough. The world needs to look this way. This person needs to look that way. Please, stop listening to it. And one of the ways you do that is through meditation, or if you don't want to do that, every time you think of something where you're judging somebody, give it over to God is one way, or just keep coming back to being aware of the breath. Being aware of the breath brings you back to awareness so that you can watch and observe all the things going on rather than being pulled into those and feeling you're not enough or somebody else isn't enough. Just checking in to see if there's anything else. I always feel grateful for being here. There's something about getting to do what I get to do, coming up here and practicing getting out of the way. The practice of getting out of the way. Who am I getting out of the way? I'm getting my small self, my personal self out of the way so something deeper can shine through. You know, we all have these different experiences, maybe as an artist, maybe as a musician, a singer, you know, whatever we're doing, we have an opportunity to get out of the way and let the divine express itself through us. I did a podcast recently on minimalism, and it was happen chance that I was speaking to librarians throughout Michigan. It was just a 5-minute presentation. They gave several people that were speakers or authors a chance to do this short presentation. And I saw this woman on here talking about minimalism, and it was on Zoom, and I texted her and said, "Thank you for what you do. I'm grateful for that." And she said, "I'm grateful for what you do. How'd you like to be on my podcast?" And I said, I'd love it. And I got in that podcast. I'm going to get emotional because I went so deep. It's like I was there, but not as my person. There was something so deep and beautiful and powerful that came through. And I've watched this several times myself, honestly, because I'm like, that's so good, you know? And because I was learning, the Spirit was expressing itself through me, and I was learning from it. I honestly want the whole world to listen to it because it was so powerful. And I was saying to God this morning, what keeps me from doing that right here, right now, and everything I do to allow to be that expression of the divine that is available to every single one of us. So if there's anything telling you that you can't do it, or you're too old, or you've done so many things wrong, or whatever the mind wants to say, give that all up. Give that all up. God is ready to express through you right now in this moment. The good news is you don't have to wait one single moment. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, and you are that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Brett, for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you here. My name is Deb Imbrock. I am a member of your board. Would you please join me here in the sanctuary, and those of you at home, in our board affirmation? We are open and receptive to infinite abundance. And now, as the ushers come forward, please take out your tithes and love offerings and join me in the offertory blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you.
You know this one. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, my friend, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. I'll be your bridge or troubled water. When you're down, I will carry you like a bridge or troubled water. I will lay sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, if you ever need a friend, look around now and sail it right behind. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will ease your mind. I'll be your bridge or troubled water. When you're down, I will carry you like a bridge or troubled water. I will lay me down, lay me down, lay me down.
Using Spirit. Let us pray. Loving Spirit, we are so grateful for so many blessings and gifts in our lives. We are thankful for the offerings received today and throughout the week. We know that these will be put to good use here at Unity of Kalamazoo. May we continue to practice thankfulness in our daily lives, remembering that we have everything we need. We support peace throughout this world through our words and actions, choosing nonviolence, empathy, and seeking understanding when we sense conflict around us. Our prayers are for this consciousness to spread to regions like Gaza, Israel, Ukraine, to quell war and ignite commitment to peace-filled solution seeking. And to those of us facing our own personal challenges, may we all be comforted by the feeling of peace and Christ inside our hearts. Amen. A special thank you again. It's hard to even express how all the right notes are hit today, literally, figuratively. So as we bring our service to a close, I invite you to please stand in gratitude and join me in our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now, as we close with a peace song, if you are comfortable, you may hold hands with your neighbor or just place your hand on your heart and connect within.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect Let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternal.